when you're lost in a system that you don't understand. So having people who understand it and can explain it to you and can reassure you that you're not insane was really, really helpful and made a huge difference. And so I'm very, very grateful to the Sedaghat team. I'm an educator by profession, and I've been blessed and fortunate to actually work in different parts of the world. So I'm from the UK, born and raised, and I have obviously taught there and was working in the Caribbean. And my son was over in the States on a basketball scholarship, and I got an opportunity to come to the States and work. The school that I was going to work at offered to file for my H-1B. So that made perfect sense because then I wasn't going to have any immigration problems. You know, I'm one of those careful people, long-term thinkers, planners, right? Attention to detail, all of that kind of crazy stuff that you need as a parent. So I dragged myself across the ocean, as they say, and landed in Texas. Unfortunately, the school that I was going to work at had some issues, and unfortunately were not able to keep the school going. So I had to look for a different job. So again, you know, being the planner that I am, I looked for a job where they would apply for my H-1B, and they said they would. So of course, I moved to another state and start working, and everything is great. And then things again weren't going well for them, and for some unknown reason they decided that filing for my paperwork would set a precedent, and they were terrified that other people might come and want them to file for their visas. So lo and behold, now two jobs in, and I mean, I had my visa for the time, but like I said, I'm a forward thinker, so it was going to expire at some point. And so, you know, I want to be proactive and make sure that my future is secure. So I looked for another job, and they were very, very supportive. And they found me an attorney who was recommended to them by somebody that the head of school knew at the time. And so they said all the right things and whatever, but right out the gate, they needed a retainer. And I didn't have the money to pay this rather large retainer, but my employers were really gracious, and they paid it and allowed me to pay them back monthly. So they only got me a year extension on top of the visa that I already had. So again, I'm a little concerned because, you know, time's going to go. I want to have options. I want to be able to stay. I want to be able to go, you know, plus the fact my parents were old and elderly, so I need to be able to come and go as I please. That we just got really concerned because we spent an awful lot of money. They blew through the retainer, and so I was still paying back the retainer when they asked for more money, right? So that for me was worrying. Obviously, I'm not from here, so not quite sure how the system goes, but even my boss felt that it just wasn't quite the right thing. And so anyway, so after we got the extension, some time elapsed, we were contacting these people, and lo and behold, they wanted another retainer. And my boss said, let's do a little bit more of exploring, because, you know, you're paying too much money, and if they're only going to get you a year at a time, you're going to be bankrupt at this rate. And what was very, very interesting was Sedaghat's agency was recommended by another person who we got to know. So what was really great was when I came in, so we came in for an interview and to meet Shawn, it was a completely different vibe, a totally different space. I didn't feel talked at. I felt that somebody actually wanted to listen to what was going on with me and what my concerns were, and really wanted to get to know me and what I needed. And that was different to the experience that we'd had with our previous attorney. Probably what really sealed the deal was that they didn't want a retainer out the gate. You know, there was no give me money, but instead these are your options. These are the things that you can do. This is the results that we've kind of had with these fields. So you can go this way, you could apply for this. This might take this amount of time. And so finally, I had a whole load of information to process and some decisions to make. But like I said, there wasn't a retainer, there was a, if you go this way, it will cost you this amount of money. If you go this way, it will cost you this amount of money. If you go this way, you might get it. Can't guarantee our experiences have been this and this, right? And I just like the honesty, you know. So it was my boss was impressed, felt a lot better about the conversation because it really was more of a dialogue. He felt heard too, and the agency wanted to know about who we were, what we did, how we did what we did, really trying to get a better understanding of who we were and why on earth I would want to stay here anyway. You know, I'm very successful in my own country, so it's not like I'm not running from anything. So what is it that I'm doing and why do I want to be here? And I'm an impactor working with children who are gifted with learning challenges. So it's a very unique field, and it was important for me to be here. So yeah, so we applied, and the communication back and forth from the team was very, very different to the previous one, you know. So they would check in and say, hey, Maria, so can you get us this and this, right? Somebody might call you rather than just sending you an email, which was very novel, right? And checking in. And then, of course, I think one of the things that I loved most was, hey, we got, you know, so if I sent a form, somebody let me know that it had arrived and that they'd got it and that it was okay, or what other documentation was still outstanding. You know, I love the fact that people follow up with you to confirm that you're coming in for a meeting at a certain day and at a certain time, you know. And so all of that just made you feel cared for, made me feel cared for, made me feel that it was important that you know, that I wasn't just a meal ticket, you know, that I actually was a person and not just a number. What was really, really cool, I applied for one visa, and due to politics and stuff that I'm not going to go into, there was a problem with that. And the agency said, you know, there's a problem with that visa right now. You can refile and answer all these questions, or you can go a different route. And the recommendation was, you're probably going to spend a lot of money with the refiling because they're going to keep sending it back. And so cost effectively, it would be better to go a different route. So I'm going, well, you're the experts, you know what you're talking about. Let's do that. Since so far, the whole team has been, I couldn't want for better service, you know? So if I leave a message, somebody calls me back, somebody gets to me straight away. I wasn't waiting days to hear back on anything. You feel a lot safer that basically my life is in somebody's hands. Because if I can't stay here, then I have to pack up all my junk. And I'd come into the office, and even the people on reception would know my name, would be friendly. I had to come in and sign papers, and you were just treated like you mattered. And then probably one of the coolest things was when my paperwork went through and it was granted, was this phone call that I got, and to let me know, and just the people in the office were just so excited and were congratulating me, and it was almost like we throw a huge party, you know, because they had worked so hard, you know, and so they were invested in making sure that the right outcome was what happened, you know, and I really felt that. So that was really palpable. I felt like part of a community, and I didn't feel alone. And prior to that, I mean, I'm sorry, but the American immigration system makes no sense whatsoever. I'm not in a position to figure it out. And so I am just so grateful that there were people who were prepared to work it out, and then tell me what to do, but not tell me in a condescending way, to literally walk me through it, hold my hand, and just, reassure me that I was doing the right thing and it was going to turn out all right. Little things like time frames for when paperwork would come back and when to expect information back from immigration. Even though we expedited things, and we were told it will take this amount of time. Don't worry if it doesn't come through by this date. We'll let you know as soon as. Just it's the little things that make such a huge difference when you're lost in a system that you don't understand. So having people who understand it and can explain it to you and can reassure you that you're not insane was really, really helpful and made a huge difference. And so I'm very, very grateful to the Sedaghat team. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have got my papers and I would have just given up, because if I'd have had to go through a second experience with the first attorney, I just would have given up. I just really would, because it wasn't the best. But this one, so since then, anytime anybody asks me anything, I'm going, oh yeah, you need to call Sedaghat. Here's their number. So I've passed this number on several times. So I'm going, these are the people that you need to talk to. And I can, with clear confidence, recommend the whole team, because the whole team was amazing. And I mean, every last one of them was really, really, truly amazing. And so it was great. The Sedaghat was the first attorney that we actually went and sat down and interviewed with. We didn't look for any after that. Several reasons. Predominantly, I think, because of that sense of safety that we got in the meeting, talking and knowing two things. A, that the person that we were talking to was prepared to listen to who we were and what our needs were, and was able to address what our needs were. And then, based on the experience, was able to share what they'd done and how things had worked. We felt like we were being told the truth, we were being given realistic expectations, and we got a realistic time frame, we got a realistic concept of how much money it was going to cost, and we got a sense that the agency knew what they were doing and that the people around were going to be able to, do what they said they could do. My experience with this law firm was definitely that the people were interested in me as a person. I got a sense that they actually cared whether or not my paperwork went through, whether it went through on time. My experience was that they were very efficient, and the constant reassurance that if you've got any questions, just call me. It's that going the extra mile was how I felt I was being treated by all of the team. And their excitement was just brilliant too. Right. So they were delighted and happy for me. And like I said, so it really was like that whole family. It's freeing because my boss then doesn't have to worry that he's going to lose me because I have to leave. That was great for him. It then meant that I could do lots of other things within our organization. So now I do a web series. I'm constantly being requested to do talks and presentations. People in Washington, I was in New York, Australia. I'm getting requests globally, which is really, really cool. But also it means that I can actually do them without worrying that there's going to be a problem when I come back, So, because that was the other thing, was prior to having the paperwork sorted, we were very reluctant for me to leave the country for fear there'd be any problem, because you just never know. Having my card now and being able to go back and forth freely without having to worry about anything is great, because now I can actually go further afield and work with more people globally. I think my only regret is that we didn't start with your firm in the beginning. Right. I think we would have saved me a lot of angst, a lot of stress, not to mention a lot of money, had we known about your agency right out the gate. I probably wouldn't have realized just how good your agency is if I hadn't had an experience with one that wasn't as good, because I'd have no frame of reference. And so that's why I know that your agency is definitely the best, and the service that they provided was impeccable, and I'm really, really grateful for it. You need an agency who not only is going to fight for you, but is actually going to listen to you, because that's what makes the difference. I think your agency was able to give me advice because they listened to who I was, where I was, and then were able to tailor what I needed. If it had just been, I don't know, if it had just been cookie cutter, I don't think my experience would have been as good. Call Sedaghat, talk to the team. It doesn't really matter which member of the team you talk to, because the whole team's great. And every last one of them has been the same: caring and understanding and listening, and very informative. Very, very informative. I've learned so much. But yeah, definitely I would just start with your agency, because in my humble opinion, you're definitely the best. I am indebted to them for life. I will forever be very, very grateful for all of the time, all of the trouble, all of the care that they poured into me, and just all of the reassurance, because there were a lot of times when things politically were going on, which had me worried, and I was stressed out. And anytime that I called, everybody that I ever spoke to was very, very reassuring, very, very caring. And I just want them to know just how much I really did appreciate all of that.